Jasmine Taylor gripped the straps of her backpack tightly as she stood outside the main entrance of Westlake High School. The brick building loomed over her, much larger than her old school back in Atlanta. Her stomach twisted with a mix of excitement and anxiety. Being the new kid halfway through sophomore year wasn't ideal, but her dad's job transfer hadn't given them much choice. "You've got this," she whispered to herself, taking a deep breath before pulling open the heavy door. The hallway buzzed with morning energy, students laughing, lockers slamming, and the squeak of sneakers against the polished floor. Jasmine felt eyes turn toward her as she walked to the main office, her new white sneakers practically glowing against the dark floor tiles. "You must be Jasmine," said the secretary, a woman with kind eyes and graying hair pulled into a bun. "Welcome to Westlake. Here's your schedule and a map of the school. Your first class is English with Mrs. Patel in room 203. Jasmine nodded gratefully, studying the paper with her class schedule. The secretary called over a girl with short, curly hair and glasses who was dropping off attendance sheets. "Tiana, this is Jasmine. She's new here. Would you mind showing her to Mrs. Patel's class?" Tiana smiled warmly. "No problem. I'm headed that way anyway." As they walked through the crowded hallway, Tiana pointed out important landmarks: the cafeteria, gym, library. Jasmine tried to take mental notes, but everything blended together in an overwhelming blur. "So where did you move from?" Tiana asked. "Atlanta," Jasmine replied. "My dad got transferred here for work." "Cool. Do you play any sports?" "You look like you might be an athlete," Tiana said, glancing at Jasmine's toned arms visible beneath her t-shirt. Jasmine smiled for the first time that morning. "I swim. Been doing it since I was 6. Tiana's eyes lit up. "No way, we have an amazing swim team here. Coach Reynolds is tough but really good. You should definitely try out." Before Jasmine could respond, they arrived at Mrs. Patel's classroom. Tiana waved goodbye, leaving Jasmine to face her first class alone. She took a steadying breath and stepped inside. 25 pairs of eyes turned to look at her. Mrs. Patel, a woman with a colorful scarf draped around her neck, smiled welcomingly. "Class, this is Jasmine Taylor, our new student from Atlanta. Jasmine, you can take the empty seat next to Zoe." Jasmine walked to the empty desk, feeling the weight of stairs following her. She noticed a group of girls in the back corner whispering and looking her way. One girl with sleek blonde hair raised an eyebrow and whispered something that made the others giggle. The girl next to her, Zoe, had purple-tipped black hair and a camera hanging around her neck. She gave Jasmine a small smile. "Don't mind Kelly and her crew," Zoe whispered. "They do that to everyone." The morning passed in a blur of new faces and information. By lunchtime, Jasmine felt mentally exhausted. She scanned the crowded cafeteria, tray in hand, looking for a friendly face. "Jasmine, over here." Tiana waved from a table near the windows. Relieved, Jasmine headed over and slid into an empty seat. Tiana introduced her to the others at the table, a mix of sophomores and juniors who greeted her with varying levels of enthusiasm. "So, Jasmine was telling me she's a swimmer," Tiana announced to the table. A boy with glasses perked up. "For real? You should definitely join the team. Tryouts for spring season are next week." "I was thinking about it," Jasmine admitted. "Swimming's been my life for so long I can't imagine not doing it." "Well, you certainly have the shoulders for it," came a voice from behind. Jasmine turned to see Kelly standing there with her lunch tray, flanked by 2 other girls. Kelly's eyes traveled over Jasmine's arms and shoulders with a smirk. "I mean, those muscles are impressive. For a girl." The way she said impressive made it clear it wasn't a compliment. Jasmine felt heat rise in her cheeks. "Thanks," she said flatly, turning back around. Kelly laughed softly as she walked away. The swim team finally found someone who can pass for their male anchor. The comment stung, and Jasmine stared down at her lunch, appetite suddenly gone. The others at the table shifted uncomfortably. "Ignore her," Zoe said firmly. "Kelly thinks her opinion matters because her dad's the mayor." Jasmine nodded, but the words had already sunk in. She'd heard comments about her athletic build before, but never so directly meant to hurt. The rest of the day dragged on endlessly. In PE class, things got worse. They were playing volleyball, and when Jasmine spiked the ball with power she'd built from years of swim training, she heard whispers. "Dang, she's built like a dude. Those arms are scary. Bet she's on something." She tried to make herself smaller, to hold back, but years of competitive swimming had shaped her body in ways she couldn't hide. Her broad shoulders, defined arms, and strong back, features her old coach had praised as perfect swimmer's physique, now felt like targets on her back. After school, Jasmine found the pool. The familiar smell of chlorine hit her as she pushed open the doors, instantly calming her nerves. The Westlake pool was Olympic-sized, much bigger than her old school's. A woman with a stopwatch was timing students as they practiced laps. Jasmine watched from the bleachers, admiring the smooth strokes of the swimmers. This was where she belonged. In the water, her body wasn't too muscular or unfeminine. It was powerful, fast, and exactly what it needed to be. "Can I help you?" The coach had noticed her. "I'm Jasmine Taylor. I just transferred here. I was on the swim team at my old school." Coach Reynolds' eyes lit up with interest. "What events?" "Mainly freestyle, some butterfly." "Times?" Jasmine told her, and the coach's eyebrows rose appreciatively. "Tryouts are next Tuesday. I expect to see you there." It wasn't a question. For the first time that day, Jasmine felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe things would be okay if she could just get in the water and show what her body could do. That evening, Jasmine's parents asked about her first day as they ate dinner. "It was fine," she said, pushing food around her plate. "The classes seem good. There's a really nice pool." Her mother studied her face. "Just fine. Nothing else?" Jasmine hesitated. She didn't want to worry them when they were already stressed about the move. "I'm just tired. New school and everything." Later, in her bedroom surrounded by half-unpacked boxes, Jasmine stared at her reflection in the mirror. She flexed her arm, watching the muscles move beneath her skin. For years, these muscles had been her pride, evidence of early morning practices, weekend meets, and countless hours of training. Now, for the first time, she wondered if they made her look strange. Different. Her gaze drifted to her closet where her collection of tank tops hung. Maybe she should start wearing baggier clothes. Her phone buzzed with a text from her best friend back in Atlanta. "How was day one? Bet you already found the pool." Jasmine started typing. "It was great." Then stopped. She didn't have the energy to pretend. Instead, she put her phone away and climbed into bed, pulling the covers up to her chin. Tomorrow would be better, she told herself. It had to be. She just needed to find her place here, prove herself in the water. Things always looked clearer after a good swim. As she drifted off to sleep, Jasmine tried to focus on the positives. Tiana's friendliness, Zoe's quiet support, Coach Reynolds' interest in her times. She wouldn't let Kelly's words get to her. Her body was strong because it needed to be, and she wouldn't apologize for that. But even as she thought this, she knew tomorrow morning she'd reach for her loosest sweater instead of the fitted t-shirt she'd normally wear, just until she got settled in, just until people got to know her for who she was, not what she looked like. The week passed slowly for Jasmine. Each day, she grew more conscious of her body as Kelly and her friends continued, their whispered comments and sideways glances. She had taken to wearing baggy hoodies even though the spring weather was warming up, trying to hide the muscles that had once been her pride. Tuesday afternoon finally arrived. Swim team tryouts. Jasmine stood in the locker room, her competition, swimsuit in hand. Unlike her usual confident pre-meet routine, she hesitated, suddenly aware of how the tight suit would showcase her athletic build. "You trying out too?" Jasmine turned to see a tall girl with short-cropped hair smiling at her. "Yeah, I'm Jasmine, new here. I'm Danny, been on the team since freshman year." She nodded at the swimsuit in Jasmine's hands. "That's a serious competition. Suit, you must be good." Jasmine shrugged but couldn't help smiling. "I was captain at my old school." "Well, hurry up and change. Coach hates when people are late." Taking a deep breath, Jasmine changed into her suit. As she walked out to the pool deck, she felt exposed, her muscular shoulders and defined arms on full display. She noticed Kelly and two of her friends sitting in the bleachers, supposedly there to support Kelly's boyfriend who was on the boys' team. Their eyes locked onto Jasmine and Kelly's mouth curved into a smirk. Coach Reynolds blew her whistle. All right, everyone in the water for warm-ups, 8 laps, alternate freestyle and backstroke. The moment Jasmine dove in, the world simplified. In the water, there was only the rhythm of her strokes, the burn in her muscles, the steady count of her breathing. This was where she belonged. After warm-ups, Coach had them demonstrate different strokes and timed their sprints. When Jasmine finished her 100-meter freestyle, she looked up to see Coach Reynolds staring at her stopwatch in disbelief. "Taylor, what was your best time at your old school?" Jasmine told her. "You just beat it by 2 seconds." The coach's expression was impressed. "Do that at regionals, and we have a shot at state this year." Pride swelled in Jasmine's chest, briefly drowning out the insecurity that had been growing all week. This was why she loved swimming, the clear objective measurement of progress and success. As tryouts ended and students began filing out, Jasmine overheard snippets of conversation. "Did you see the new girl? She's insanely fast." "Yeah, but did you see those muscles? She's built like..." "Coach is definitely putting her as anchor." Jasmine quickened her pace to the locker room, eager to change back into her baggy clothes. As she reached her locker, she heard Kelly's voice from around the corner. "It's just weird, you know? Girls aren't supposed to look like that. It's like she's trying to be a boy or something." Another voice chimed in. "Maybe she's taking something. My brother says lots of serious athletes do." "Whatever it is, it's freaky. Did you see her back muscles?" "Gross." Jasmine froze, wet hair dripping down her back, a lump forming in her throat. She had heard comments about her physique before, but never with such venom, such deliberate cruelty. She changed quickly, pulling her hoodie tight around her body, and rushed out without showering. She didn't cry until she was safely in her bedroom, at home. The next morning her phone buzzed with a notification. Someone had tagged her in an Instagram post. Heart racing, Jasmine opened the app to find a photo of herself from yesterday's tryouts, mid-stroke in the water. The caption read, "Westlake's newest girl swimmer steroids. Man arms not our yikes." The account was new, with no identifying information, but Jasmine knew exactly who was behind it. The comments section was already filling with laughing emojis and cruel remarks. Some people were defending her, but their voices seemed drowned out by the mockery. She felt sick to her stomach. Her fingers trembled as she reported the post, then threw her phone across the bed. At breakfast, her mom noticed her reddened eyes. "Honey, what's wrong? Are you getting sick?" Jasmine shook her head, pushing cereal around her bowl. "Just tired, late night studying. You know you can talk to us about anything, right?" Her dad looked up from his coffee, concern etched in his face. "Is school going okay?" "It's fine, Dad. Just adjusting." The lie tasted bitter on her tongue, but she couldn't bring herself to explain. How could she tell her parents she was being bullied for something they had always taught her to be proud of? Her strong, capable body that carried her through countless victories. At school, the whispers seemed louder. Several times, Jasmine caught people looking at their phones, then at her, snickering. In English class, she kept her eyes fixed on her notebook, avoiding Zoe's questioning glance. During lunch, she hid in the library, unable to face the cafeteria crowd. She was scrolling through her phone, trying to distract herself, when she saw that more photos had been added to the account. Pictures taken of her in class, in the hallway, all focusing on her arms or shoulders with mocking captions. "Those aren't very flattering, are they?" Jasmine jumped. Zoe stood beside her table, purple-tipped hair falling across her face as she peered at Jasmine's phone. "I saw the account this morning," Zoe said, sliding into the chair across from her. "It's disgusting what they're doing." Jasmine closed her eyes briefly. "I don't get it. At my old school, being strong was a good thing. Here, it's like I'm some kind of freak show. Kelly's just threatened because you're different and because you're good at something. Really good, from what I heard. The whole team's talking about your times. Great. Another thing for them to hate me for." Zoe shook her head. "Not hate. Most people are impressed. It's just Kelly and her sheep who are being terrible." She hesitated. "You should tell Coach Reynolds about the account, or the principal. And Be what, a snitch, a crybaby who can't handle a few mean comments? Jasmine shook her head firmly. No way. That would just make things worse. The rest of the week continued in the same vein. The Instagram account gained followers, mostly students from Westlake. New photos appeared daily. Someone put a printout of one of the pictures on Jasmine's locker with Hulk smash scrawled across it. Swimming practice became her only relief and her greatest stress. In the water, she could escape the whispers and stares. But the locker room was a battlefield, and she'd taken to changing in a bathroom stall to avoid the eyes of her teammates. Friday afternoon, Coach Reynolds posted the final team roster. Jasmine had made anchor for the freestyle relay team, the position given to the strongest, fastest swimmer. Normally, this would have been cause for celebration. Instead, it felt like a target had been painted on her back. As she stared at the roster, she felt someone step up beside her. "Congratulations," said Danny, the girl she'd met at tryouts. "You earned it." Jasmine gave her a small smile. "Thanks. Listen, a bunch of us are going for pizza after practice to celebrate the new season. You should come." The invitation caught Jasmine off guard. "Oh, I don't know. Come on, it'll be fun. The team always hangs out together. It's tradition." Jasmine hesitated, then nodded. "Okay. Yeah, that sounds nice." For the first time in days, a spark of hope flickered in her chest. Maybe she could find her place here after all, with people who understood the dedication it took to be an athlete, who valued strength and endurance. That afternoon's practice went well. Coach Reynolds worked them hard, but Jasmine thrived under the pressure. For 2 hours, she was just a swimmer again, not the girl with the weird muscles. As they were finishing up, Coach called her over. "Your butterfly technique is good, but your turn is losing you time. Let's work on that Monday." Jasmine nodded, pleased that the coach had noticed and wanted to help her improve. "And Taylor," Coach added, her voice softening slightly. "You're fitting in well here. I'm glad you joined us." The words meant more than Coach could know. Jasmine smiled genuinely for what felt like the first time in days. Her good mood lasted until she reached the locker room. Her locker was covered in printouts of the Instagram photos with new captions added in marker. "Man Beast. Steroids much? Captain Testosterone." The girls around her fell silent, eyes darting between Jasmine and the vandalized locker. No one spoke up. No one pulled the papers down. They just watched, waiting for her reaction. Jasmine felt as if she'd been plunged into ice water. Her hands shook as she tore down the pictures, crumpling them into a ball. Without changing out of her damp swimsuit, she grabbed her backpack and fled. Behind her, she heard Danny call out, "Jasmine, wait." But she couldn't face anyone right now, not with tears threatening to spill over. She ran all the way home, the spring air burning her lungs, her wet suit cold against her skin under her clothes. When she reached her house, she was grateful to find it empty, her parents still at work. She locked herself in the bathroom and finally let the tears come, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. As the water ran cold in the shower, Jasmine made a decision. Tomorrow she would tell Coach Reynolds she was quitting the team. She'd focus on her classes, keep her head down, and just get through the year. Swimming wasn't worth this pain, this constant feeling of being wrong in her own skin. She avoided looking at her reflection as she dried off, not wanting to see the muscles that had caused all this trouble, the strong arms that had earned her medals and scholarships, the powerful shoulders that had carried her through countless races, the athletic body that now felt like a curse rather than a blessing. The weekend passed in a blur of homework and avoiding her parents' concerned glances. Jasmine had told them she wasn't feeling well, which wasn't entirely a lie. The thought of returning to school on Monday made her stomach twist with anxiety. By Monday morning, Jasmine had rehearsed what she would say to Coach Reynolds. "I need to focus on my academics. I'm still adjusting to the new school, maybe next season." The excuses sounded hollow even to her own ears, but they were better than the truth. She dressed carefully in her baggiest jeans and an oversized sweatshirt, even though the spring day promised to be warm. As she reached for her backpack, her phone buzzed with a text from Danny. "You okay? Missed you Friday. Team Pizza wasn't the same without our anchor. Jasmine stared at the message, unsure how to respond. Part of her wanted to believe Danny genuinely cared, but another part wondered if this was just another trap. Before she could decide, her mom called up the stairs. "Jasmine, you're going to be late." At school, Jasmine moved through the hallways, like a ghost, head down, shoulders hunched. She had almost made it to first period when she heard Kelly's voice behind her. "Well, if it isn't Miss Muscles, didn't see you at Team Pizza. Too busy working out?" Jasmine kept walking, pretending not to hear. "Hey, I'm talking to you," Kelly said, stepping in front of her. "Did those steroids damage your hearing too?" "Leave me alone," Jasmine said quietly, trying to step around her. "Or what? You'll beat me up with those man arms of yours?" Kelly's friends giggled behind her. Jasmine felt her face burning, aware of the growing audience in the hallway. "I don't take steroids, I just swim. A lot." "Sure, whatever you say." Kelly smirked, looking her up and down. "Nice outfit, by the way. Finally figured out you should hide those freaky muscles?" Something inside Jasmine snapped. Months of built-up frustration, weeks of bullying, days of humiliation. It all came rushing to the surface. "What is your problem?" she demanded, her voice louder than intended. "Why do you care what my body looks like? I've never done anything to you." Kelly's eyes widened briefly, surprised by the outburst. Then her expression hardened. "My problem is that it's weird and gross. Girls aren't supposed to look like bodybuilders, it's unnatural." "Unnatural?" Jasmine felt tears pricking her eyes but refused to let them fall. "What's unnatural is being so insecure that you have to tear other people down to feel good about yourself." The hallway had gone quiet. Students watched the confrontation with wide eyes, phones out, undoubtedly recording. "Whatever, freak," Kelly said, but her voice lacked its usual confidence. "Come on, guys, we're late for class." As Kelly and her friends pushed past, Jasmine stood frozen in place, heart pounding. She had finally stood up for herself, but it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like another spotlight on her differences, another reason for people to stare. The bell rang, jolting her back to reality. She was late for English. Taking a deep breath, she hurried to class, slipping into her seat next to Zoe with a mumbled apology to Mrs. Patel. "I saw what happened," Zoe whispered as Mrs. Patel returned to her lesson. That was brave. Jasmine didn't feel brave. She felt exposed and exhausted, and she still had to face Coach Reynolds after school. The day dragged on endlessly. By the time the final bell rang, videos of her confrontation with Kelly were circulating on social media. Some comments supported her, calling Kelly a bully, but others were cruel, focusing on Jasmine's appearance rather than her words. With heavy steps, Jasmine made her way to the pool. Coach Reynolds was in her office reviewing practice plans. She looked up as Jasmine knocked on the open door. "Taylor, come in, close the door behind you." Jasmine's heart sank. Did Coach already know she was quitting? Was she angry about the scene in the hallway? "I wanted to talk to you about something," Jasmine began, staring at her hands. "I wanted to talk to you too," Coach interrupted. "I saw the videos from this morning." Jasmine winced. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have caused a scene." "Stop," Coach said firmly. "You have nothing to apologize for. Kelly Bryant has been a problem for years, but most students are too intimidated to stand up to her." Jasmine blinked in surprise. "You're not mad?" "Mad? No. Concerned, yes." Coach leaned forward. "I've also seen that Instagram account." Shame washed over Jasmine. Of course Coach had seen it. Everyone had. "Why didn't you tell me you were being bullied?" Jasmine shrugged, unable to meet Coach's eyes. "I thought I could handle it. I didn't want to make things worse." "Jasmine, look at me," Coach said, her voice gentler than Jasmine had ever heard it. "What they're doing is wrong. It's harassment, and it's against school policy. It needs to stop." "It doesn't matter," Jasmine said, fighting back tears. "I'm quitting the team anyway." Coach was silent for a long moment. Then she stood up and walked to a shelf lined with trophies. She picked up a framed photo and handed it to Jasmine. The picture showed a teenage girl holding a swimming medal, her muscular arms raised in victory. It took Jasmine a moment to recognize a much younger Coach Reynolds. 25 years ago, that was me, Coach said. State champion in the 200-meter butterfly. And you know what they called me? The Hulk. Man shoulders. Testosterone Tina. Jasmine stared at the photo, then at Coach, seeing the strong shoulders and defined arms hidden beneath her team jacket. You? Coach nodded. I almost quit too. Came this close. She held her, thumb and finger a centimeter apart. Want to know why I didn't? Jasmine nodded, transfixed. Because I realized something important. Their words only had power if I believed them, and I didn't. I knew my body was strong because I made it that way, through hard work, dedication, and thousands of hours in the pool. She tapped the photo. These muscles weren't something to be ashamed of. They were proof of my commitment. Jasmine felt a tear slide down her cheek. But it's so hard. Everywhere I go, people stare. The comments never stop. I know, Coach said softly. Believe me, I know. But here's what I learned. People who try to make you feel small are usually the ones who are afraid of how big you might become. She put her hand on Jasmine's shoulder. You have a gift, Taylor, a natural talent backed by serious dedication. Don't let a few insecure teenagers take that away from you. Jasmine wiped her eyes, considering Coach's words. I don't know if I'm strong enough to ignore it all. You don't have to be. Not alone anyway. Coach returned to her desk and picked up her phone. I'm calling Principal Watkins right now about that Instagram account. And tomorrow we're having a team meeting about respect and supporting each other. But what if that makes things worse? What if the team hates me for getting them in trouble? Then, they're not the kind of teammates I want, Coach said firmly. This isn't just about you, Jasmine. It's about creating an environment where everyone feels safe and respected. She paused, her expression softening. And for what it's worth, not everyone thinks like Kelly. Danny and some of the others have already come to me, concerned about how you're being treated. This revelation surprised Jasmine. They have? Coach nodded. Now I'm not going to force you to stay on the team. That's your decision. But I am going to address this bullying whether you stay or go. It's unacceptable. For the first time in weeks, Jasmine felt a glimmer of hope. She wasn't alone in this fight. Can I think about it? About staying on the team? Of course. Coach smiled. Practice starts in 20 minutes. You're welcome to join us, or take the day to think. Either way, I expect an answer by tomorrow. Jasmine left Coach's office with her mind spinning. She hadn't expected understanding, let alone support. As she walked through the pool area, she saw the team starting to gather. Danny waved when she spotted her. Instead of heading to the locker room, Jasmine sat in the bleachers watching as practice began. From this distance, the differences between the swimmers' bodies were striking, some tall and lanky, others compact and powerful. All athletes, all shaped by their dedication to the sport. As she watched them move through drills, Jasmine's fingers unconsciously traced the muscles of her own arm. These weren't something artificial or wrong. They were earned, stroke by stroke, lap by lap, year after year. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mom. Everything okay? You're usually home by now. Jasmine hesitated, then typed, Can you and Dad come pick me up? I need to talk to you about something important. 20 minutes later, her parents arrived. They found her still sitting in the bleachers, watching practice wind down. Honey, what's going on? Her mom's face was creased with worry. Jasmine took a deep breath. I need to show you something. She pulled out her phone and opened the Instagram account dedicated to mocking her. Her parents' expressions changed from confusion to shock to anger as they scrolled through the posts. This has been happening since you started here? Her dad asked, his voice tight with barely controlled rage. Why didn't you tell us? I was embarrassed, Jasmine admitted, and I thought I could handle it. Her mom wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Oh, sweetie, you shouldn't have had to deal with this alone. I know that now, Jasmine said. Coach Reynolds is going to talk to the principal tomorrow. She wants me to stay on the team. And what do you want? Her dad asked gently. Jasmine looked out at the pool, where the last swimmers were climbing out, laughing and talking. I love swimming. I always have. And I don't want to give it up because some people don't understand what it means to be an athlete. Her mom squeezed her shoulder. Then don't. But it's hard, Jasmine admitted. Every day, hearing those comments, seeing those posts. It is hard, her dad agreed. And it's unfair that you have to deal with this. But you're stronger than they are, Jasmine, not just physically here. He tapped her heart. Where it counts. Her mom nodded. And you're not alone. We're here. Coach is here. And it sounds like some of your teammates are too. Jasmine felt tears welling up again, but different this time. Tears of relief, of finally sharing the burden she'd been carrying. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. No more secrets, her mom said firmly. We're a team, remember? When one of us is hurting, we all help. As they drove home, Jasmine felt lighter than she had in weeks. The bullying wasn't over. The Instagram account still existed. Kelly and her friends would still be at school tomorrow. But something fundamental had shifted. Jasmine no longer felt she had to face it alone. That night, she lay in bed thinking about Coach Reynolds' words. People who try to make you feel small are usually the ones who are afraid of how big you might become. She reached for her phone and typed a message to Danny. Thanks for checking on me. Sorry I missed pizza. I'll be at practice tomorrow. Then she opened her closet and pushed past the baggy sweatshirts and hoodies she'd been hiding in. At the back hung her favorite tank top, bright blue with Born to Swim printed across the front. She pulled it out and laid it on her chair for tomorrow. It was time to stop hiding. The next morning, Jasmine stood in front of her mirror, fingers tracing the blue fabric of her tank top. The girl looking back at her had strong shoulders and defined arms. A swimmer's body built through years of dedication. For the first time in weeks, she didn't immediately look away. This is me, she whispered, and there's nothing wrong with me. Downstairs, her parents exchanged surprised glances when they saw her outfit. You look great, honey, her mom said, squeezing her shoulder gently. Her dad nodded. Remember, head high today. We've got a meeting with Principal Watkins after school. You don't have to. Yes, we do, her dad interrupted firmly. This isn't just a kids being kids situation. This is harassment, and the school needs to address it. As Jasmine walked into Westlake that morning, she felt eyes on her. Some curious, some judgmental, some supportive. She had grown used to looking down, making herself smaller. But today she kept her head up, making eye contact with anyone who stared too long. In English class, Zoe slid into the seat beside her. Nice top, she said with an approving nod. Blues, your color. Thanks, Jasmine replied, a small smile playing at her lips. So I was thinking, Zoe continued, lowering her voice as more students filed in. About that photography project I mentioned, the one about athletes. I still need subjects and you'd be perfect. Jasmine hesitated. After everything that had happened, the thought of more photos made her uneasy. I don't know, Zoe. It's not what you think, Zoe said quickly. It's not about, it's the opposite of those horrible Instagram posts. It's about celebrating what bodies can do, all the different forms of strength. She pulled out her camera. Here, look at what I've done so far. Jasmine scrolled through the photos on Zoe's camera. A ballet dancer mid-leap, her muscles taut with controlled power. A track runner exploding from the starting blocks, face intense, with concentration. A wheelchair basketball player stretching for a rebound, arms defined and powerful. These are amazing, Jasmine said honestly. You really captured them in their element. That's the point, Zoe explained, her eyes lighting up with passion. To show athletes as they are, strong, dedicated, focused on what their bodies can achieve rather than how they look. I want to challenge the narrow ideas of what bodies should look like, especially for girls. The bell rang before Jasmine could respond. But throughout Mrs. Patel's lesson on symbolism in The Great Gatsby, her mind kept returning to Zoe's project. There was something appealing about reclaiming her image, about presenting her athletic body as something powerful and purposeful, rather than something to be mocked. By lunchtime, word had spread that Principal Watkins was investigating the bullying. Jasmine could feel the shift in the atmosphere, some students avoiding her gaze, others offering small smiles of support. Kelly and her friends huddled at their usual table, shooting occasional glares in Jasmine's direction. Jasmine sat with Tiana and some other students she'd gotten to know over the past weeks. They didn't mention the Instagram account or the confrontation in the hallway, instead chatting about an upcoming math test and weekend plans. The normalcy felt good, like a breath of fresh air after being underwater too long. As lunch ended, Danny appeared beside her. "Hey, ready for practice later? Coach mentioned she wants to work on your butterfly turn." "Yeah, I'll be there," Jasmine confirmed. Danny grinned. "Good. We need our anchor." She hesitated, then added more seriously, "Look, I should have said something sooner about Kelly and that stupid Instagram account. I'm sorry." "It's not your fault," Jasmine said. "Still, we're teammates. We're supposed to have each other's backs." Danny adjusted her backpack. "Anyway, just wanted you to know that not everyone thinks like Kelly. Most of us are just impressed by what you can do in the water." The rest of the day passed in a blur of classes and whispers. After final bell, Jasmine headed to the principal's office where her parents were waiting. Coach Reynolds arrived shortly after, her expression determined. Principal Watkins, a tall woman with a no-nonsense demeanor, ushered them into her office. "I've reviewed the Instagram account and the videos from yesterday," she began, her tone serious. "This is clearly a case of bullying and harassment, which violates our school's code of conduct." "What's going to happen?" Jasmine's dad asked. "The account has been reported and should be taken down soon. As for the students involved, they'll face appropriate consequences according to our disciplinary policy." She turned to Jasmine. "I'm sorry this happened at our school. Every student deserves to feel safe and respected here." Jasmine nodded, not trusting herself to speak. "We've also scheduled an assembly next week about online harassment and bullying," Principal Watkins continued. "And I've asked our counseling staff to organize some workshops on body image and media literacy." Coach Reynolds spoke up. "I'm also addressing this with the swim team today. We need to be clear that this kind of behavior is unacceptable, especially toward a teammate." The meeting continued with discussions about monitoring the situation and ensuring Jasmine felt supported. By the end, Jasmine felt both relieved and anxious, relieved that adults were taking the situation seriously, but anxious about possible backlash. As they left the office, her mom hugged her. "We're proud of you, sweetheart. This took courage." "Do you want us to wait while you're at practice?" her dad asked. Jasmine shook her head. "No, I'll be okay. Danny offered me a ride home." After her parents left, Jasmine headed to the pool for practice. Her stomach tightened as she approached the locker room, remembering the vandalized locker and cruel whispers. To her surprise, several teammates greeted her warmly as she entered. There were still a few uncomfortable glances, but no overt hostility. Jasmine changed quickly and joined the others on the pool deck. Coach Reynolds called everyone together before practice began. "Before we start, I want to address something important," she said, her voice carrying across the pool area. "This team is built on respect, hard work, and supporting each other. What's happened recently with the bullying of a teammate goes against everything we stand for." Jasmine felt heat rise in her cheeks as several heads turned her way. "Swimming is about what your body can do, not what it looks like," Coach continued. "Every one of you has a different body type, different strengths, different challenges. That diversity makes us stronger as a team. I expect all of you to treat each other with respect both in and out of the pool." She paused, looking around the circle. "If anyone has a problem with that, you're welcome to turn in your team cap right now." The silence was heavy. No one moved. "Good," Coach said. "Now let's get to work. Relay teams, I want to see your starts and transitions. Everyone else, begin your distance sets." Practice was intense, but Jasmine welcomed the physical exertion. In the water, everything else fell away. The stares, the whispers, the Instagram posts. There was only the rhythm of her strokes, the burn in her muscles, the quiet focus of moving through water. After practice, Danny caught up with her as they left the locker room. "That was some speech from Coach, huh?" Jasmine nodded. "I didn't expect her to be so direct about it. That's Coach for you. Straight to the point." Danny adjusted her gym bag. "So my offer for a ride still stands, unless you'd rather walk?" "A ride would be great, thanks." As they walked to the parking lot, Jasmine spotted Zoe, sitting on a bench near the school entrance, camera in hand, apparently waiting for someone. "Give me a second," Jasmine asked Danny, who nodded. Jasmine approached Zoe, who looked up with a smile. "Hey, I was hoping to catch you after practice." "About your project," Jasmine began. "I've been thinking about it. What exactly would it involve?" Zoe's eyes lit up. "Really? You're interested?" She stood up excitedly. "It would be a series of photos, you in your element, swimming, training, whatever you're comfortable with. The focus would be on strength, dedication, the relationship between athlete and sport." She hesitated. "It's kind of my way of pushing back against all those narrow beauty standards that make people feel bad about their bodies." Jasmine considered this. "And these would be for my photography portfolio, mainly. But I'm also hoping to display them in the spring art show. And maybe create a small book or website eventually." Zoe watched her carefully. "You'd have full approval of any photos I use, of course." Something about Zoe's passion for the project resonated with Jasmine. Here was a chance to reclaim her image, to present her athletic body with pride rather than shame. "Okay," she said finally. "I'll do it." Zoe's face broke into a wide grin. "Really? That's awesome. When can we start?" "How about this weekend? I have practice Saturday morning." "Perfect, I'll be there." Zoe scribbled something in her notebook. "This is going to be amazing, I promise." As Jasmine walked back to Danny's car, she felt a strange mix of nervousness and excitement. The thought of being photographed still made her uneasy after the Instagram debacle, but Zoe's project felt different, a chance to control her own narrative. "Everything okay?" Danny asked as Jasmine buckled her seatbelt. "Yeah," Jasmine replied, surprised to find she meant it. "I think it will be." That evening, as Jasmine was finishing homework, her phone buzzed with a notification. The Instagram account mocking her had been taken down. Relief washed over her, though she knew this didn't mean the bullying was over. Kelly and her friends would still be at school tomorrow, possibly angrier than before. Her phone buzzed again, a text from Zoe. "Started planning shots for Saturday. This project is going to change minds, I can feel it. Thank you for trusting me." For the first time in weeks, Jasmine felt something like optimism. She wasn't naive enough to think one photography project would end all the bullying or change everyone's minds. But it was a start, a way to reclaim her story, to present her strength as something to celebrate rather than mock. She opened her laptop and found herself searching female athlete's body image. The results were eye-opening. Articles about Olympic swimmers discussing their broad shoulders with pride, basketball players celebrating their height, gymnasts embracing their compact muscle. These women weren't apologizing for their athletic bodies. They were recognizing them as tools that allowed them to excel. One quote from a swimmer caught her attention. "I used to hate my shoulders. Now I see them as my superpower. They've carried me to gold medals. Why would I be ashamed of that?" Jasmine closed her laptop and walked to the mirror again. The girl looking back at her was the same one who had stood there this morning. Strong shoulders, defined arms, athlete's build. But something had shifted in how Jasmine saw her. "My superpower," she whispered, flexing slightly. The muscles that had brought her so much shame these past weeks had also brought her countless victories, scholarships, the respect of coaches. They were evidence of her dedication, her discipline, her love for her sport. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy. Kelly, and her friends wouldn't change overnight. Some people would still stare, still whisper. But Jasmine was beginning to understand what Coach Reynolds had meant. Their words only had power if she believed them, and she was choosing not to believe them anymore. She pulled out her phone and texted Zoe. "I have some ideas for the photo shoot. Can we talk tomorrow?" Then she opened her closet and began sorting through her clothes, pushing the baggy hoodies and oversized sweatshirts to one side. She wasn't going to hide anymore. Not her body, not her strength, not her talent. Whatever came next, she would face it standing tall. Saturday morning dawned bright and clear. Jasmine arrived at the pool earlier than usual, her stomach fluttering with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Zoe was already there, camera equipment spread around her, talking animatedly with Coach Reynolds. "Morning," Jasmine called, setting down her swim bag. Zoe spun around, her face lighting up. "You're here. I was just talking to Coach about some pool shots I want to try." Coach Reynolds nodded. "Zoe's project aligns perfectly with what we've been discussing as a team. I'm giving her full access today." "Thanks, Coach," Jasmine said, genuinely appreciative of her support. "Don't thank me yet," Coach replied with a hint of a smile. "You're still doing your regular workout first. The camera doesn't change that." As other swimmers began arriving, Jasmine headed to the locker room to change. The atmosphere had shifted since the team meeting, not dramatically but noticeably. Some girls who had previously avoided her now offered casual greetings. Others still seemed uncertain, but the open hostility was gone. Danny bumped her shoulder as they walked out to the pool deck. "Ready for your modeling career?" Jasmine laughed, shaking her head. "Hardly. I'm just helping Zoe with her project." "Well, you look the part. An actual athlete instead of those skinny models who've never lifted anything heavier than a protein shake." Practice began with warm-up laps, then moved into specialized drills. Throughout, Zoe circled the pool, taking photos, sometimes close-ups, of hands cutting through water, sometimes wider shots of the team in motion. Occasionally, she'd ask Jasmine to repeat a particular turn or stroke, but mostly, she observed silently, capturing moments as they naturally occurred. After the regular practice ended and most of the team had left, Zoe asked Jasmine to stay for some individual shots. "I want to try something," Zoe explained, adjusting her camera settings. "Can you do a few dives? I want to capture that moment of power right as you launch yourself." Jasmine nodded, climbing onto the starting block. She positioned herself, muscles tensed in preparation. "Perfect," Zoe murmured, circling to find the right angle. "Now when you're ready." Jasmine launched herself forward, body arcing gracefully before slicing into the water with minimal splash. She completed a lap, then returned to repeat the dive several more times as Zoe photographed from different positions. "These are amazing," Zoe said excitedly, reviewing the images on her camera. "You can see every muscle engaged, the complete focus on your face." She turned the camera to show Jasmine. Jasmine stared at the image on the screen. There she was, suspended in midair, water droplets cascading around her powerful form. Her face showed pure concentration, her body a perfect line of controlled strength. For the first time, she saw what others saw when she swam. Not just a girl with too many muscles, but an athlete in her element, body and mind working in perfect harmony. "Wow," she whispered. "Right?" Zoe grinned. "This is exactly what I'm trying to show, the beauty and strength in what bodies can do rather than just how they look." They continued for another hour, experimenting with different angles and lighting. By the end, Jasmine was exhausted but exhilarated. Working with Zoe had helped her see her body in a new light, as something functional and powerful rather than something to be judged by arbitrary standards. "When will the photos be ready?" Jasmine asked as they packed up. "I'll do some editing this weekend," Zoe replied. "Maybe we could meet Monday after school to go through them. You get final approval on any I use. Sounds good." Jasmine hesitated, then added, "Thanks for this, Zoe. It's helping me see things differently." Zoe's expression softened. "That's the whole point. Changing how we see ourselves, and maybe changing how others see us too." Monday morning brought nervous anticipation. As Jasmine walked through the school hallways, she noticed whispers and glances, but they felt different than before, curious rather than mocking. Word had spread about Zoe's photography project, and several students approached Jasmine to ask about it. "Is it true you're going to be in an art show? I heard you're working with Zoe Chen on some photography thing." Even in classes, Jasmine felt a shift. In physics, her lab partner, a quiet boy who had barely spoken to her before, mentioned that his sister was a competitive swimmer too. "She's always complaining about finding shirts that fit her shoulders," he said with a casual shrug. "Says it's the swimmer's curse." The comment was so matter-of-fact, so normalizing, that Jasmine found herself smiling. "Tell her to try men's medium shirts, that's what I do sometimes." By lunchtime, Jasmine was feeling cautiously optimistic about the day. She sat with Tiana and some others, including Danny, who had started joining their table occasionally. "So how was the photo shoot?" Tiana asked between bites of her sandwich. "It was actually really fun," Jasmine admitted. "Zoe has an amazing eye for capturing motion." "When's the big reveal?" Danny asked. "We're meeting after school today to go through the edits." The conversation shifted to other topics: an upcoming history test, weekend plans, the latest streaming shows. For a few precious minutes, Jasmine felt like just another student, not the girl with the muscles or the bullying victim. Then Kelly appeared beside their table, flanked by two of her usual friends. The conversation died instantly. "Can we talk?" Kelly asked, her voice lacking its usual sharp edge. Jasmine glanced at her friends, then back at Kelly. "About what?" Kelly shifted uncomfortably. "Not here, just for a minute?" After a moment's hesitation, Jasmine nodded and stood up. "I'll be right back," she told the others, following Kelly to a quieter corner of the cafeteria. "Look," Kelly began, not quite meeting Jasmine's eyes. "Principal Watkins called me and my parents in on Friday afternoon. I'm on probation, and my college recommendation is on the line if anything else happens." Jasmine waited silently, sensing there was more. "My parents were furious. They took my phone, grounded me for a month." Kelly's voice hardened slightly. "So if that's what you wanted, congratulations." "That's not what I wanted," Jasmine said quietly. "I just wanted the bullying to stop." Kelly's eyes finally met hers, a flash of defiance quickly replaced by something more complex. "Well, it has. You win." As Kelly turned to leave, Jasmine found herself saying, "I don't understand why my body bothered you so much." Kelly paused, looking back with an expression Jasmine couldn't quite read. "It didn't. Not really." She hesitated, then added in a lower voice, "It was more that everyone was so impressed with you right away. New girl shows up and suddenly she's the star of the team." A flash of vulnerability crossed her face. "It's stupid, I know." Before Jasmine could respond, Kelly walked away, rejoining her friends at their table. It wasn't an apology, not really, but it was something. An acknowledgement, perhaps, that the bullying had been more about Kelly's insecurities than about Jasmine's body. After school, Jasmine met Zoe in the art room to review the photos. They were even more striking than Jasmine had expected. Images that captured not just her physical strength but also her focus, determination, and joy in the water. "These are incredible, Zoe," she said honestly, scrolling through the edited collection. "You really have a gift." Zoe beamed. "Thanks. I'm thinking of using these as the centerpiece of my exhibit, if that's okay with you?" "More than okay." Jasmine paused at a particular image, herself emerging from the water, muscles gleaming, face triumphant after a powerful lap. "I actually love this one." "That's one of my favorites too," Zoe admitted. "There's something so victorious about it, like you've conquered the water." As they continued reviewing photos, Zoe mentioned that she was expanding the project. "After people heard about what I was doing with you, other athletes started reaching out. The girls' basketball captain, a gymnast, even a couple of track runners, they all want to be part of it." "Really?" Jasmine was surprised and touched that her participation had inspired others. Really, it's turning into something bigger than I planned, a whole series on female athletes and body diversity. Zoe's eyes sparkled with excitement. I'm calling it Strong is Beautiful. The weeks that followed brought gradual but meaningful changes. The bullying didn't disappear entirely. There were still occasional whispers, still moments when Jasmine caught someone staring at her arms or shoulders. But these incidents became less frequent, less painful, as she grew more comfortable in her own skin. The swim team progressed toward regionals, with Jasmine maintaining her position as anchor for the freestyle relay. Coach Reynolds worked with her individually on technique, pushing her to refine her already impressive abilities. You could go far with this, Taylor, Coach told her after a particularly good practice. College scholarships, maybe even beyond. You have the build, the discipline, and the natural talent. Those words would have made Jasmine cringe just a month ago. Now, she accepted them with quiet pride. Zoe's project expanded, with more athletes joining the photo series. They began meeting weekly as an informal group, discussing their experiences with body image and sports. Jasmine found herself opening up about the bullying, surprised by how many others had similar stories. People used to call me Giraffe because of my height, admitted Lisa, a basketball player. Said I was too tall to be feminine. I got the opposite, added May, a gymnast. Too short, too muscular, too strong for my size, like there's some perfect, just right that none of us can ever hit. These conversations were healing, helping Jasmine understand that her experience wasn't unique. All these young women had faced criticism for bodies that didn't conform to narrow beauty standards, bodies that were perfectly suited to their sports, their passions, their lives. As the date for the spring art show approached, excitement built around Zoe's exhibit. Posters appeared in the hallways featuring silhouettes of different female athletes with the words, "Strong is Beautiful," emblazoned across the top. The night of the show, Jasmine arrived with her parents, nervous about seeing her photos displayed publicly. The art room had been transformed, with photography exhibits lining the walls and sculptures positioned throughout the space. Zoe's project occupied a prominent corner, black and white images of athletes in motion drawing a steady crowd of viewers. There you are. Zoe hurried over, practically bouncing with excitement. People love the exhibit. Even Ms. Harper from the local newspaper is here. She wants to interview us for a feature on body positivity in sports. Jasmine followed Zoe to the display, her breath catching as she saw the images in their full glory. Herself, and other female athletes captured in moments of power and grace. Each photo was accompanied by a quote from the subject about their relationship with their body and their sport. Beneath Jasmine's emerging from water photo, the caption read, "My muscles aren't just for show. They're tools that help me move through water faster than I ever thought possible. They're evidence of early mornings, late evenings, and thousands of laps. They're my history and my future. They're my strength." She remembered saying those words to Zoe during one of their discussions, but seeing them displayed so prominently beside her image made them feel more real, more powerful. As Jasmine and her parents moved through the exhibit, she noticed Kelly, standing alone studying one of the photographs. After a moment's hesitation, Jasmine approached her. "What do you think?" she asked quietly. Kelly glanced at her, then back at the photo. A basketball player mid-jump shot, muscles defined, face intense with concentration. "It's good," she admitted. "Really good, actually." She paused, then added, "You all look strong, but not in a bad way." Coming from Kelly, this was significant. Jasmine nodded. "That's the point. Strong is beautiful, just in a different way than what we usually see." Kelly seemed to consider this. "Yeah, I guess so." She shifted uncomfortably. "Look, about everything that happened, I'm sorry. It was stupid and mean and, yeah, I'm sorry." The apology was awkward, but appeared genuine. Jasmine nodded, not quite ready to say it's okay because it wasn't really, but she could acknowledge the effort. "Thank you for saying that," she said finally. Kelly nodded once, then walked away, disappearing into the crowd. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of conversations and congratulations. Teachers praised the exhibit's message. Students asked questions about the photography process. Even Principal Watkins stopped by, commenting on how the project aligned with the school's anti-bullying initiatives. As the show wound down, Jasmine found herself standing with Zoe, Danny, and several other athletes featured in the project. "We should keep this going," Lisa suggested. "The conversations, maybe start a club or something." Body-positive athletes, May offered with a grin. BPA for short. "I like it," Zoe said. "And I could document our journey, maybe create a proper exhibition beyond just the school." They continued brainstorming, energy and ideas flowing freely. Jasmine listened, amazed at how her personal struggle had evolved into something larger, something that might help others facing similar challenges. 2 weeks later, the regional swim meet arrived. Jasmine stood on the starting block, adjusting her goggles as she prepared for the final leg of the freestyle relay. Westlake was in second place, just behind their longtime rivals from Eastridge High. From the bleachers, she could hear her parents and teammates cheering. Zoe was there too, camera ready to capture the moment. Even some students who had never attended a swim meet before had come to support the team. As the third swimmer approached for the handoff, Jasmine bent into position, muscles coiled like springs. She no longer worried about how she looked to others, only about how fast she could move through the water, how effectively she could use the strength she'd built over years of training. The moment her teammate touched the wall, Jasmine launched forward, body slicing into the water with practiced precision. Everything fell away, the crowd, the pressure, the lingering echoes of cruel comments. There was only the water, her strokes, the burning in her muscles as she pushed harder, faster. She couldn't see the other swimmers, couldn't tell if she was gaining or losing ground. She simply gave everything she had, trusting in her body, her training, her determination. When her hand finally slammed against the wall, Jasmine surfaced to an eruption of cheers. She pulled off her goggles to see her teammates jumping up and down, Coach Reynolds pumping her fist in the air. "You did it!" Danny screamed, reaching down to help pull her from the pool. "First place! You closed a 2-second gap." Breathless and dripping, Jasmine found herself surrounded by her team, all talking at once, all celebrating their victory. Coach handed her a towel, pride evident in her usually stern face. "That," Coach said simply, "is why we value strength over appearance." Later, as Jasmine stood on the podium with her relay team, gold medals around their necks, she caught sight of her parents in the crowd. Her father was recording everything on his phone, while her mother wiped away tears of joy. Beside them stood Zoe, camera raised to capture the moment. In that instant, Jasmine realized how far she had come from the girl who had once hidden in baggy hoodies, ashamed of her athletic body. The journey wasn't over. There would still be difficult days, still be people who didn't understand. But she had found her strength, her voice, her community. As she held up her medal for a photo, muscles gleaming under the bright lights of the pool area, Jasmine smiled with genuine pride. Her body wasn't just something to be looked at or judged. It was something that carried her through water with power and grace. It was something that had earned her a gold medal, the respect of her coaches and teammates, and a newfound confidence in herself. Strong was beautiful, and she was both.